Welcome to In Spirit with Missy Reno Smith.
And I'm Vanna Smith. In the last episode, we talked about reincarnation. This episode is a continuation of that. So, would you like to start us off, Mama?
Yeah. So, we've been talking about reincarnation, and something that I think is interesting about our lives here is, the lessons that we maybe sort of repeat.
Yeah.
That we, constantly are dealing with. There are certain lessons that each life is going to have. Like, you're going to start this life out being extremely vulnerable.
Yep.
You're going to be a baby.
A little baby. Can't even walk, talk, can't do anything for yourself.
Can't do anything for yourself. That's how you're going to start every single life on Earth or any other planet, actually. We start off extremely vulnerable. So, so our lives, these lessons and things that we come here to live, some of the lessons are built in. It's kind of like college when you think about it. When you're going to college and you're so excited to choose all your classes, right? Like,
yeah, and the stress of college.
The stress, right?
I'm so excited picking all these classes that are going to be very stressful.
Yes. Well, some of those classes are built in, though, right? You have your generals. Everybody has to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Every single life you live, you've got these generals. You're going to go through some things that are, you're going to be a baby. You're going to go through puberty. You're going to, if you, depending on how long you live, you might become elderly and, kind of maybe become vulnerable again.
Yep.
So some lessons are sort of built into every life, and we're all experiencing them, in our own unique way from our own unique place in the world, and, the unique bodies that we chose and the unique families and cultures and all of that. But we're all going to go through it, right? But then you got your major, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever you're excited about, like whatever you're here for, like you're choosing lessons that are going to go along with your life purpose, your soul purpose, right?
Sometimes you just throw in a random elective in there. And
Gotta get those electives too, right? You gotta put in, like a variety of lessons. And so every life that we're living, that's kind of what we're doing. Like before we come here, we're choosing our classes. And this means that you have to remember that you're responsible for your lessons. You are responsible.
I don't want to be responsible.
Neither do I. I don't. I hate saying it too. But everything we go through, like you put it there. Or you chose to come and you knew it was part of it. You knew you were going to go through this,
There are a lot of things that are comforting about what you do and learning about the other side and things like that. Learning about the fact that I planned out my own life plan is both comforting and just awful. And sometimes,
Sure.
It's like I put me through this. That's just,
But it's better to understand that you are responsible and to put that on God, because if you put all of these lessons, these things that you were excited to come here and learn, if you put that on God, then it will strain your relationship. You have to remember you chose it. You chose to come. You knew what is built in. You knew what those generals are, and you're going to go through them, And then all the other stuff, it's, your choice still. You chose it. I mean, everything is in God's time and in God's way, but you're part of it. You're, God's not like forcing lessons on you.
God gave you the opportunity and you took it.
Yes, absolutely. So you have to take responsibility. And I find that is comforting to me. Like sometimes I get, I can't believe I did this. Why did I do it? We all do that, right? But then I think about it and I'm like, you know what? I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing when I planned out this life. And so I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to get through it. And when I get home, I'm going to be so proud of myself because I did it.
It's just tough now.
It's tough now. But it's short, it's, and it's not like we're, sadists or anything. And we're not really like trying to like give ourselves like these really like horrible things. I think some of us are maybe really eager spirits, like overly excited and thinking, oh, I can do this and I can do everything. I can learn everything. And, and then sometimes we get here and we're like, it's a little too much.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. It's a little too much. So, in those cases, though, I think God listens to us. If we put a lesson in our plan, that's maybe a little too much. If we've bit off more than we can chew, God can sort of lessen it, like lessen the blow, or even just remove it completely, right?
So we have kind of like our general education thing, but it's kind of lessons that everyone learns. But are there kind of like popular lessons like as a whole, maybe even on like certain planets for people, like maybe say one planet people kind of learn like more about the art stuff. They typically live lessons with about art. Another planet's more science. Another planet's more, whatever it may be.
Sure, yeah. There are planets where, there's a big focus on science or art or anything. I think this planet has such a wonderful mix of everything.
It's a variety.
I think we have the best of everything right here on Earth. It's a tough school. It's one of the toughest schools in the universe.
It's like Harvard.
It's like going to Harvard. If you're here, you're like, you should be feeling really good about yourself. You got into Harvard.
Pat yourself on the back.
Pat yourself on the back. You did it. You're here, But that also means it's tough, right? It's a tough school. So, but I think we have the best of everything here. So ultimately, I think it just really comes down to personal preference. Certain things are popular. Like, okay, everybody wants to be famous, right?
Yep.
I don't know why. So many people you want to be famous. I think that we all yearn to be seen.
Yep.
We want to know that God knows that we're here. And I think that if we think that other children of God know that we're here, that maybe that helps us feel that. But I can assure you, I don't care if you are, super famous, or I don't care if, you know only 2 people in this world. Maybe you live very remotely. God sees you. God knows you. God loves you. We don't need that. But it is popular. A lot of people are trying to get there.
We all have a desire to not just be seen, but feel understood. Feel that other people can relate to us.
Sure.
And then us back to them. I think that's kind of a common thing that I typically see with celebrities. They share their stories. Other people relate to it,
Yeah.
and then they kind of feel a bit reassured, It's
Sure.
it's like almost like when you're talking to a friend, and you're talking about, oh, I'm having this issue, or this thing happens to me this very often, and they say, yeah, me too. That's like a really good feeling, but to have that on like a bigger scale, that's something that's very desirable.
Yeah, I think that it's nice to see, like, when we see celebrities and they're going through some of the things that we go through,
Yep.
like we feel better. I work in a way that I don't know that all mediums work this way, but I'm very open.
Yep.
I like to share with my clients, I'm like, let's relate,
Let's relate.
Let's relate. Like, I think I know what you might be feeling. Like, I went through this or that, and I'm not trying to take up all the time, but like where it's relevant, I might share a little bit from my own life that might help them understand.
And that creates a really good feeling, for the client and for you, to have that sort of feeling of relating with each other,
I think so. I mean, I think of my clients as friends. I think that they think of me the same way. As a matter of fact, many of them refer to me as their friend Missy. They don't always refer to me as, my medium or whatever. Yeah. Like, they're like, this is my friend.
That crazy lady next door.
That crazy lady, yeah. That talks to ghosts and spirits and angels. But no, they often refer to me as their friend, and I appreciate that. I don't know. I'm not saying that other mediums should work the way that I work. I would never expect somebody to do that. I mean, I got to be professional as well. So I'm, there's a line here, but I do try to share a little bit. Let people know that I'm a real person. I'm not like, just because I'm a medium and I have these abilities, it's like, it doesn't make me special. I am not special.
Yep, you are a real person, a real person with dogs. If anyone could hear those dogs barking a moment ago, we have 2 dogs.
Yeah, it was Vanka. Vanky Doo. Yeah.
We got Vanka and Trinka, 2 German short-hair pointers.
Yes, they are a little rowdy in there, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
this is real. Like, this is, hey, we're coming to you like from my dining room. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is where it's happening. And life is happening in this house right now.
Life is happening.
Yeah.
Sister's watching the dogs, taking care of them, and they are barking. You might not be able to hear it after I edit this audio, but they are there.
They're there, and I think people will get to know our dogs as we go along here. We'll share some stuff with them.
I'll put some photos of them up on, YouTube and the videos so you can see the dogs.
Yeah.
If you're watching online. So
Yeah, so, but yeah, and that, I mean, and that's real too, right? Like when I'm doing my sessions, I mean, you might hear my dog in the background.
Yep.
You might hear my kids, like knocking on my door or something, like,
Mom, we need help with
we
something.
need help. Yeah, that's pretty rare. You guys are older now, but but
Yeah, I still need your help.
occasionally, yeah. So I mean, I think being able to relate to people is important, and so I get that, yeah. But I think the fame thing, though, is there's so many lessons you learn when you're living a life in the spotlight, and so I think a lot of people do want to get them, and there's only so many spots, though. There's only so many places for that level or for the really big level of fame, right? You can be famous, like in your community, right? You could be a mayor or just somebody who's very popular, even being like a popular person in school. That's a level of fame.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of us are looking to experience that at some point. When I do regressions with people, a lot of people are hoping that they were somebody famous, oh my gosh, it's so rare. It's extremely rare. I've never been anybody of real note, I had a life where I was like sort of like adjacent to something that was happening. Like I was a wife of somebody that had an interesting role, but I didn't do anything. And so sometimes people will come into these sessions and just like really hoping to find themselves in one of these roles. But, whatever you've done is special. You don't need
It's valuable.
It's valuable. Like you don't need to have been anybody. It's
being you is more than enough.
We're all famous in God's eyes.
Yeah.
That's what matters. We're all famous
Even though there's unimaginable amounts of us on the other side, we're all very well known by God.
There are so many of us, but yet each and every one of us is known, truly known by our Creator and loved unconditionally and understood. And we don't need to be known and understood by everybody. It's unnecessary. But, of course, everybody wants it. Everybody's like, I want to be a princess or, whatever. And I'm like, you're probably just a scullery maid. Like, that's probably where we're going to find you. You're probably like cleaning a chamber pot or something. I've done it. Hey, I've been there, or the oldest job in the world. Yes, we may have been a prostitute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been there too.
You've been a prostitute in those lives?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Prostitution is huge. I have no judgment for sex workers. It is a real profession. I think I just would never want to, what two, consenting adults are doing. Like I don't care as long as they're two consenting adults.
Yep.
I don't care what's happening, and so that's something that a lot of people will find is they were living as a prostitute.
A lot of people feel like guilt about that sort of thing too, that they lived a life like that or they are currently living a life like that. So in their next life, if someone did something that they felt was wrong or other people felt was wrong, do they have to live their next life like suffering or like paying the price?
There's no punishment. There's absolutely no punishment. You have to remember that, your life is planned out, and that includes the negative stuff. Whether you've been hurt or whether you've hurt somebody else, this is all planned. So to be punished for something that was planned is just, it's wrong. I mean, like, why? Why would God punish us if it was part of the plan all along so we could all learn and grow? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, there are people who, when they're planning things out, they like balance.
Yeah.
And so they might say, okay, I was a victim here. I want to know what it's like to be the victimizer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll plan out a life where they're the victimizer. And that might sound funny, that might sound quite odd to somebody, like, what? We want to hurt somebody? Well, no, we don't want to hurt somebody. I mean, but we want to learn and we want to grow. And this is the stage that we do it on. We don't do it in heaven. That's real life. That's home. We're doing it here where we're like in this sort of safe space, this place that's meant for it. It's meant for negativity. It's meant for these lessons. It's meant for great love and positive things as well. But this is where we can sort of play these roles out and not have to truly be hurt, which is what would happen if we were doing it in heaven, which is our real home.
So they're not planning those lives to punish themselves in any way. They're just planning those lives to just like even it out.
Just for balance. So, people will disagree with me on this, and, everybody's so passionate about karma, and I'm like, ugh, let go of it.
Yeah.
Let go. It's unnecessary. I mean, karma is more like a philosophy. It's like, these people who just want that total balance. I'm not one of them. You're not one of them.
Yeah.
But there are some spirits who just really want that balance. They're sort of living by that philosophy, but it's not a punishment. It's a choice.
We are definitely not an eye for an eye type of people.
No. And I think that most of us aren't. It's really rare. I rarely come across a client who is actually living by that karmic philosophy of balance and total, complete balance is what I'm talking about. A lot of us do like to do that little thing where we might be, well, look, I want to try it this way too. I mean, but I'm talking like total balance. That's super, super rare, and again, it's not punishment.
So when people are living these lives as like the perpetrator, as the person who is hurting others, maybe after they've been victimized, whatever, do they like it, like in those lives, or do they like it like when they're on the other side? Do they like that they did that, or is it just kind of like just happened?
Well, that's kind of a twofold question here. Like, do they like it while they're here? When we're living our life, we take on personality traits to sort of help us. We are who we are, but then we'll take on personality traits that will help us accomplish the goals that we came here to accomplish. So if somebody is supposed to actually enjoy hurting somebody, I mean, they'll truly enjoy it while they're here. We talked a little bit about negative spirits before, and they're kind of capable of doing things that some of us really aren't capable of doing. So sometimes we can't, but somebody else can.
Yeah, that's why I kind of asked that question, is because, I just, I'm not a negative spirit, and I would kind of imagine that if I were to ever hurt someone, that would just, I couldn't enjoy it. So that is kind of like the hard thing to understand about other people who do enjoy doing those things. Are they actually enjoying it, or is there some sort of disconnect there where like one part of them is, but like their other higher self isn't,
Well, negative spirits different because they sort of turned away from God, so they're going to maybe get some true joy, and feel good. They get off on power and all of that. But like just a normal person, right? We're talking about. They might experience some joy in this just because it's, maybe, even genetically, like maybe like, things in the brain, chemically and all of that, are causing them to experience feelings that normally we wouldn't, in something like that if they were hurting somebody. But does their higher self no, we're not enjoying that. I mean, this is serious stuff. I mean, we come here, like right, is sort of like a game, right? We're sort of like we're playing these roles. It's, we're acting these things out, but it is serious.
Yep.
None of us is like actively like wanting to harm somebody or step on somebody, over there. That's just not how life is over there. So, but here sometimes, people don't care, or they might even enjoy it, it's okay. It's not good. I don't like it. I don't want to be that way personally.
Yep.
I don't think that most people do, but some people do, and they're not going to be punished for it.
And we
just
can
the way it
kind
is.
of, the interesting thing is that we can kind of on the other side encode, like genetically how our brains are wired, that I guess you could, enjoy it that way,
Yes.
Psychopaths, sociopaths, people who have that, their brain chemistry is different than that of a normal person.
Yes.
So they kind of changed their own brain up in heaven before they came here and made it so that they could do that, do this life.
Right. When they chose their body, they chose a body that was going to allow them to do whatever they are coming here to accomplish. And that includes chemically, in the brain, like what does it need to do so that they can do that. I mean, I can't imagine being in that situation. I have great compassion for people who are living these lives where they're hurting people. I have great compassion for the victims.
Yeah.
Please don't get me wrong. But I also have compassion for people who are living those particular lives because, well, one, I just can't imagine it myself being in that situation. But, they're sort of sacrificing so that other people can grow. This is why I don't want to live in judgment of somebody else. I mean, I can judge actions, but I'm not going to judge a person. Like we're all children of God. We all stand shoulder to shoulder in heaven. And so what's happening here is happening here for a reason. This is not an excuse to act badly. This is not an excuse to act badly at all. We are supposed to be good. We are supposed to try to help each other. But it doesn't always work out that way. And this just means that the rest of us have something to overcome.
But it is another really interesting thing about reincarnations that you're not taking like your exact brain with you in every single life. You think differently in this life than you did in your last, and you think differently in this life than you will in your next. We're wiring it differently in every single life so we can do different things.
Yeah, the way that you think, the way that your brain works is going to, sort of it's going to support whatever you came here to do. Ultimately, you are you. Doesn't matter what life you're in, you're still you. That's why I like to do regressions with people, because you can see, wow, I'm still me. I still feel like me.
Yeah, it's different. You're like thinking a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. You look differently. You're experiencing a different thing.
Right. But ultimately, the you that makes you, that's there. And then on top of that, you may have taken on some personality traits, or left some personality traits at home in heaven so that they wouldn't interfere with whatever you came here to do. But ultimately, you are you. It's just a little different. And yeah, your brain is going to be wired the way it needs to be wired for whatever you're, here to accomplish.
So you can't just... You don't live the same life over and over again. Your brain is different every time. Your body's different. But would it be possible to actually just live basically the same life over and over again?
Why? Be boring. No. Is it possible? Absolutely. Yes, it's possible. But do we? No, we don't. We don't bother. I mean, ultimately, like time is moving, times are changing, so there's always going to be differences. But can you sort of live kind of the same sort of brand of life over and over? We really don't. We're always growing. We're always moving forward. It's like, what's next?
So even though we have a lot of similarities between past lives and current lives, we always have to switch it up somewhat.
Yeah, there's always going to be something different.
Different people, different experiences, different goals.
Well, but there's a lot of similarities, though. I mean, and we can even have the same people, but we're playing different roles
Yeah.
in each other's lives. So, and we have our basic themes, and they're woven through all of our lives, but we're doing it in a different way. I mean, like over here, I'm like, I was living as a farmer's wife, right? In the 1800s, and I'm, tending to my children, and yeah, I'm a psychic medium, and I'm, it informs everything that I do, but I wasn't really like doing things really big. I was maybe in my community and just within my family, but I wasn't like really out there. But I was still having these lessons. I was still dealing with spirits and all of that. And now here I am in this life, and I'm like, same thing. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, but now I'm like, I've got clients, and I'm doing, I'm on camera, and I'm doing bigger things. So.
And I actually want to talk a bit about being drawn to things that you did in your past life, like, say for me, I had a lot of lives where I was in India and the Middle East, and I've always been drawn to it. Is that really common for most people, that they have had a lot of past lives doing this, being in this place, that they want to go, or they feel like they have that recognition to it?
Yeah, we yearn for things that are familiar to us. And so we might want to go back somewhere where we are familiar to, like maybe we want to travel there, and maybe we just like being around the people, or like hearing the language, or whatever it might be, because it's comforting to us. But also, the things that we do in our past lives, what if I'm a musician and maybe I play the piano or something, and then I come into another life, and maybe I can just play by ear. Because I remember, on some sort of soul level, we call that, cell memory, and that, so we can sort of take talents and things with us.
I mean, I've heard stories of children who are like really young, like 2, 3, who actually speak another language that they spoke in their past life.
Yeah. Well, I've had clients doing regressions that started speaking another language, during during the regression started speaking in another language. We can remember our lives. Your sister Olivia, she said to me when she was about 3, she said, "Hey, Mom, do you remember that life in China where my babies died?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember." Wow, I didn't remember. I wasn't with her then, but I just sort of accepted what she was giving me. But sometimes we remember things, especially children.
They're more open to it.
Children are more open to their last experiences.
Because it's kind of in that space of imagination. The other side and imagination are kind of similar.
Yeah, they're just everything is sort of colliding for them, I think. And the veil is so thin for children that they just sort of remember little things. And so for you kids, I would write it down, because I wanted to be able to talk about it again when you were older. So I would write everything that you said down. I would never ask you to perform. We never ask a child to perform. We wait for the child to offer something up, and then we accept that with love.
Yeah, otherwise they might, want to do it more, or they might want to be like, oh, my parents really liked that I said this, so they want to say it even more, even when it's not true. You want the true stuff. You don't want the performance.
Exactly. This is something I warn parents of all the time, because children are so open, and every parent will kind of come to me thinking, oh, their child's amazing, and they're going to be like, they're going to be like you, and maybe, but most kids don't keep it, so let's just take it and, keep it in perspective. Let's just let them offer it. Let's accept it, what they're giving us, and we won't encourage it. We're not discouraging it, but we're not like rewarding them for it, if that makes any sense. But so you just accept it. You write it down as a parent. Write it down, because you're going to want to talk about it when when your kids are older.
Do you just have these notes somewhere?
Oh my
that I haven't read?
I've got oh my God, I have so many notes. I've got like a big case of, papers and things, little things that you guys would bring through, whether it was about past lives or whether it was about, just heaven and God and, just, little psychic things that you guys would say. All children do this. It's something that all children do. Some of them are really good at it, and but even the ones who are really good at it doesn't mean they're going to keep it. Most children it starts to fade away when they're 4 to 6, and and it can be kind of sad for a parent, I think, if their child is doing this and that. But so just allow it to come through. But even adults, because you might have like a little recollection, something might just come to you, and you might just all of a sudden be aware of something, or you might have a dream where you were in another time and place.
Yep.
Write it down. See if you can't expand on it, even like meditate on it. And that, I don't suggest that people try regressing themselves, though. A past life regression is something that should be done with a professional. It's something that you can get into, really into the emotion of it, and get sort of scared or something if you don't have somebody there. There have been times where I've been with somebody and they've experienced some severe trauma, and I had to really help them through it. I myself did a regression with a wonderful hypnotherapist a long time ago, like over a decade ago, and I was really upset by something that I had experienced, and I was really, even though I'm a professional, I was so grateful for him to be there to sort of help me, like, hey, remember, this was then, it's not now. That particular life involves some severe abuse, and it was tough to look at.
When you're in it and you're looking at it in past life regression, it can be hard to disconnect yourself.
Yeah, from the emotion, the physical experiences and that you're not going to be feeling that, but it's the emotion, it's that connection, and it can be really tough and traumatic, but this is why we release it. This is why we do it. We want to examine it, because that particular experience, I think, was affecting me in my current life.
Yep.
And again, it's called cell memory. I'm bringing something with me. It can be good. It could be like bringing a talent, but it could also be like a trauma, like that maybe is making me feel stuck for some reason in life. So when I released that, I felt so much better.
Like a weight off your shoulders.
It was a huge weight off my shoulders. As a matter of fact, I felt like my relationship with my husband, dad, it improved.
Yep.
With your dad, maybe I was like projecting something on him that he wasn't him.
Yep.
He didn't hurt me and certainly not in this life. And so when I released that, I was able to sort of like breathe and be more accepting of love, I think.
Are we ever able to just live like a completely peaceful life where like nothing too bad just happens, but like maybe, we're just on the other side, we're like, oh, we've lived all these really tough lives, maybe come back here and just have like a really peaceful one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are times where we live, I think a lot of lives are just really mundane. Most lives that we live, I think they're just, just mundane lives, just kind of doing our thing.
We're not all becoming the celebrities and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of us are just like, we got a job and we got a family and we're just like trying to get through it, right? Like each day at a time. And, so most lives are like that, but we can plan out a life where we maybe don't have a lot of challenges. Maybe we want a life where we're just kind of like, I want to come here because I want to, there's more for me to learn, but maybe I don't want to take on anything super big. Maybe I just want to sort of enjoy and just have a more peaceful life than I maybe typically have. That's okay. It's okay to do that. I think that a lot of times we're very eager people, and we typically bite off more than we can chew. Like more than likely, we're going to put in some lessons that maybe we probably shouldn't have. We should have waited and said, oh, I'll do this at another time. But sometimes we're really, thinking about just enjoying it. And so, yeah, that happens.
We've talked about the monk life. We've talked about, a bit about your other, just a little bit here and there about your other lives. What has been your favorite life that you've seen in a regression that you've lived?
Oh, my favorite. Wow. I don't know. It's hard to choose a favorite. I've looked at quite a few of them. Actually that life I was talking about in the 1800s where I just, had a family, I had abilities or whatever. But I remember seeing myself planting carrots and I really enjoyed trying to get my rows straight. I don't know why. You
like the organization.
I liked that in that life, and I do not have a green thumb in this life. You guys tease me a little bit because I can't keep a plant alive.
Yeah.
And but in that particular life, obviously we had this really big farm, but I just had like a house garden, just for our own kitchen, a kitchen garden, and keeping my carrot rows sort of straight or challenging myself. It was really enjoyable for me. It sounds kind of stupid maybe to other people, like
back in the day, these things were just entertaining.
It was entertaining, but that was really peaceful to me. Now I did, that life got a little tougher because my husband passed away and my kids were still young, and it got really tough. But just thinking right now, like thinking of how proud of myself I was about these stupid carrots. I don't know, like that was enjoyable to me. I think that I find in all of my lives, I see things there that are tough, and I see things that are really enjoyable, and I think that oftentimes I enjoy that mundane stuff, like the simple things, and so maybe I'm kind of looking for that. I did have a life in the 1100s Germany, where this is where I was like the wife of somebody who had sort of a special role.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe that was kind of special to me. My role in that life was very small, and it insignificant. It wasn't a famous role or anything like that, but it was an enjoyable life. I think I had a good life. I think I had I didn't want for things. I had we had wealth. And that was maybe
it's comfortable.
It was comfortable. It was sort of fun. I also had one in the 1700s in France, where we had a lot. It also created problems for our family, to keep our wealth. And there was this constant, it was always like hanging over us. But like for the most part, I think my life was comfortable. So I don't want to say that wealth is like, going to, it creates all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
It can create a lot of challenges and such, but, certainly the comforts of life, I can see that. But perhaps my favorite ones, though, are where I'm on other planets. This isn't my home. This isn't where I started, and I'm not comfortable here. I'm not comfortable with the cadence of life on this planet. People who know me, like, I struggle time, to keep in time with this fast moving planet. Like, it's uncomfortable for me. So I think the ones that I look at that were somewhere else where I originally started from, that's most comfortable to me.
So in most of your lives, are you typically married to my dad?
Here on Earth, like almost, not all of them. Like, he was grossly my dad in one of them.
And that's where things get a little bit incesty.
It does. It gets a little weird because we play different roles in each other's lives. And so you can have that, where like, your dad is your husband, I don't know. It happens. And it's not gross in heaven when we're thinking about it. They're different bodies, different times, and all of that, but when you're looking at it, you're like, yikes, that's my dad. It's my husband here. That's weird, or vice versa. And then, so yeah, it's kind of odd looking at it, but yeah, that happens.
So do we, you're with him most of the time when you're here on Earth. Do we like to pick a partner that we just kind of stick with when we're on a certain planet?
Some people do. I do. I mean, I think that Daddy and I are learning, some lessons together, and so that's why we're doing it. We also just really enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, you're both very, very different personalities, very different people, so there's a lot of lessons to learn there,
Yeah,
two different
sort of
perspectives.
Yeah, we're very, like, we have, like, he's the gas and I'm the brake, and so we really sort of, without being too cliche, we complete each other.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, we sort of do. So we do. Not everybody does that. It's just personal choice. Like, what do you want? What do you want to do?
Do I typically do something like that here on Earth, do you think?
No.
No? I'm just kind of with whoever?
Yeah, you're sort of, you have your people. Like, I'm one of your people, right? Like, we're in the same, like, group, right?
We're best buds.
We're best buds. And, through time and space, we're always hanging out. But, so you've got your people, but, like, when it comes to relationships, no, every time I look at you, it seems like you're somebody different that you're ending up with. Like, as your sort of, life partner, like the one you're spending most of your time with, and that. So you're kind of a loner too.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've seen you where, you're married, sometimes you're not.
Yeah, I've had a lot of lives where I'm not married. And the ones I feel like I have seen where I am married, I'm not too, like, involved in that person. You know what I mean? Like,
I just really feel bad for your future partner here as you're saying that.
I think in this life it might be a bit different here, but
okay.
Like, where it's just not too, like, they're not too together all the time. It seems like I'm not too...
You're independent.
I'm very independent, very much doing my own thing. That person's doing their own thing, but,
right.
Still together.
Sure, absolutely. And see, and, like, my preference is, like, I'm, I really like that full-on partnership, like, Daddy and I are, I'm not afraid to say I'm dependent on him.
Yeah.
I really do depend on him.
It's a choice.
It's my choice. I love him. I choose him. And I'm like, wherever he goes, that's where I go.
That's a beautiful thing to have all that much trust in a person that you can be dependent on them, And it's choice, so...
Yeah, I choose him every single day.
But unfortunately, I don't really get a good hint about who I'm going to marry in the future, who I'm going to be with, because I don't go with the same person over and over again. So there's no one I could be, like, looking for, like, with a feeling, like, oh, I meet this person, as though I've met them before, really,
And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people get that, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people are feeling confused and, I need a hint, help me out. This is why a lot of people come see me. Yeah, they're like, Missy, tell me, who am I going to marry? And, and I'm like, just relax about it. Just like when the time is right, it'll happen. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. You can't rush it. I get the urgency some people have around it, especially, as we're getting older, if we haven't found our person. We might feel some urgency there, but just remember, like, everything that you're getting with the independence that you currently have, or everything that you're learning from your current relationships that maybe, are ending. It's okay that they're ending. Like, like you're learning from that. Like
I think it just
valuable.
makes the future person who is the one, I think it just makes it more special.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I always say to my clients, I say, one person brings us to the next. So, one relationship prepares us for the next relationship. So it's okay if life goes that way. I mean, even in the past where we kind of thought of people as, like, having that one person and only, well, people are people, like, maybe we think of them as being all prim and proper or whatever, but, like, life was happening the same way that it's happening here. It was just happening maybe behind closed doors. People weren't talking about it. We weren't open about it. You would typically, you'd get married, but people were having other relationships and things, or, people die and then, we go on and we have another relationship. So there's a lot of ways that we can, learn and grow through, like a love interest sort of relationship.
Well, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. And would you like to say goodbye, Mama?
Yeah, remember that God loves you, and I'm sending angels your way.
If you'd like to know more about Missy Reno Smith, her readings, her artwork, please visit MissyRenoSmith.com. You can also find In Spirit Podcast on TikTok, X, and Instagram, as well as YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.